is one of our newer members. Thomas will be giving his second speech this evening from the Competent Communicator Manual. His speech will be 5 to 7 minutes. He will be evaluated by Paul. He's going to be looking, as he stated earlier, for beginning, middle, and end. The title of his speech is Happiness and Success. So you can see by the titles of all of our speeches, we definitely, as Daniel would say, are not having any insipid presentations this evening. Please join me in welcoming Thomas Wechefsky. Good job, to the podium, to the lecture.
When we get to biology class in high school, one of the very first things that we learn is that there are 3 primary drives that all living creatures utilize to perpetuate the species. Number 1 is the drive for food. Number 2 is the drive for shelter. Number 3 is the drive for reproduction. All creatures share these same drives. Humans, however, have a lot more that drives them. We're very different. It's what separates us from the other animals. For instance, number 3, we take to a whole nother level. But tonight I'd like to speak specifically about happiness. It's a major motivator for human behavior. And I want to look at one specific portion of happiness, and that is what drives it. We know that it's linked to success, but is it success that drives happiness? Or is it happiness that drives success? Or is that really one of those, which came first, the chicken or the egg kind of questions that doesn't have an answer? So I'm going to do a very brief, very informal survey. And by a quick show of hands, I'm going to give you your 3 choices. For you personally, in your own life, which would you say was more accurate? By a quick show of hands, how many of you feel that it's one of these chicken and egg kind of questions that doesn't really have an answer? Okay, we have 1. How many of you feel that it is success that drives happiness? None. How many people feel that it's happiness that drives success? Okay, well, I'm speaking to the choir here, it looks like. I wasn't anticipating that response, to be honest, because a group like Toastmasters is so goal-oriented and so success-oriented that, you know, as human beings, we are all trained from early childhood that happiness is the result of success, of successful behavior. So, for instance, when Ternisha was an infant or a toddler, Mom said to her one day, Ternisha, if you make on the potty, Mom, you'll be very happy. And one day she did. And everyone clapped and cheered, and it was a big raucous event, and you'd think she had invented the electric light bulb. She was a genius. When we get on in school, perhaps Summer was told by her parents that, well, if you're a good girl and you get good grades, we'll give you a quarter. These days would be $5 or $10, but that's inflation for you. And her successful behavior produced a reward which produced happiness. When we get on in life and we go out into the workforce, we strive hard to do a good job to get that promotion. And because when we get the promotion, that's successful behavior, we're going to be rewarded and we'll be happy. We'll make more money. Well, most human beings are programmed that way, and I venture a guess that's to say that outside of this group, most people would say that it is success that drives happiness. I have given this, I tried this out, this exact same speech in my office, and almost everyone said it was success that drove happiness. The problem with that is very simply this. Happiness then becomes some far-off, distant thing that keeps getting pushed further and further into the future. Because if you're successful, if you achieve your goal, especially a group like this, the first thing you're going to do is go out and make a higher goal. And you're going to push success further off into the future, and happiness goes with it. So you never really get to happiness that way. And I didn't anticipate you to say that happiness produced success, but that really is true. That's a far more correct answer. Because happiness are those feelings of euphoria, of well-being. Well, where does that come from? That comes from the release of a neurotransmitter, a chemical in our brain called dopamine. And dopamine produces that feeling of well-being, that feeling of euphoria, makes us all feel good. But dopamine does one other thing that's really crucial, and that is that it turns on the learning centers, not just the happiness centers. And it allows you to learn much more rapidly, much more effectively, and address stressful situations on a much higher level. It allows you to function on a higher level, address problems at a higher level, and therefore you're going to be more successful. All right, so the real key to this is, how can we apply this? If you didn't believe that was so, how could we get more happiness and more success in our lives? Well, I'm going to give you 3 very simple, very quick techniques that you can utilize in your own life to help you get there. Number 1, every day, at the end of the day, in a journal, I want you to write down 3 things that you are grateful for. In this world, we hear all about disasters. We hear about children being abducted and killed in Sudan. We hear about how terrible the economy is, and gas is $5 a gallon, and there are soldiers being killed in Iraq, and we're just bombarded with all this negative influence. It's very hard for us to really want to be all that positive. But you have to, because we all have the things in our lives that we should be grateful for. First of all, we're living in a free society. We're all healthy. No one here is starving. We all have roofs over our head, food in our bellies. We have a lot to be grateful for. Write down 3 things that you're grateful for, 3 different things every day. Take one positive thing that occurred to you throughout the day and expand on it. Write it out. Relive it. You want to go through that in your mind, and you want to re-experience it. It will just imbue you with all those feelings all over again, those positive emotions. And the third thing that you should do is open up your inbox, your email, and send some random act of kindness. Send someone a thank you, or a note of praise, or congratulations. Those 3 things, if you do them every day for a month, you'll make yourself a lot happier. You'll be able to share that happiness with others, and you'll end up being a much more successful individual.